ready.
I ngā mane I ngā reo I raurangatira mā, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Ko wai au, he mokopuna hau o te tai rāwhiti, taranaki munga me ngai tahu iwi. No te hapu o tūwhaki iri ora, aro whenua awarua, a raukuku hoki. No Kotirana me airani o Pūtipuna, o Tāla Ngātai o Pūnua. My name is Tyler Ngātai, and I am Māori, Scottish, and Mahish descent. I live in Ōtautahi Christchurch, and am the current practice lead for Arataiohi.
Ngā mihi nui ki a koutou katoa. Ko wai au, no tēnau ahau, he tangata tiriti ahau, ko James Intle tōku ingoa. My tupuna rest across the globe, predominantly in Cornwall and Wales, and in more recent times, my ancestors rest here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I honour and acknowledge Te Tiriti o Waitangi as my turanga waiwai, my place to stand in this nation. And I am here today resting on the mana of those who go before me, and the mana of those I represent as the CEO of Arataiohi. Thank you for the opportunity to present to this select committee. We would like to acknowledge the huge number of people, particularly young people, who have submitted their views on this bill. Today we speak on behalf of our entire sector, thousands of people who work day in, day out with young people and whose practice is grounded in Te Tiriti o Waitangi. As the peak body for youth development, the vision of Arataiohi is to create an empowered ecosystem of youth development where rangatahi thrive. We should not have to go through this process. It is a dangerous precedent that a party that represents just 5.55% of the electoral vote can disrupt the foundations of our country. We have been concerned that speaking today would in some way be used to legitimise or justify this bill and the calls to undermine Te Tiriti. However, it is because the Treaty Principles Bill is so fundamentally undermines the ethical practice of youth work and risks the well-being of young people of Aotearoa that we feel compelled to speak.
The practice of youth work in Aotearoa is explicitly founded on a commitment to Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Our structures and mahi reflect the relationship between tangata whenua and tangata tiriti. This partnership and the work that flows from it strengthens how we engage and support young people from across Aotearoa. Arataiohi a kaitiaki of Manataiohi, an approach of positive youth development informed by international best practice and te ao Māori, as well as the Code of Ethics for Youth Workers. Manataiohi and Code of Ethics are Te Tiriti in action, taking our lead from an Indigenous perspectives that have shaped our young people for generations. Te Tiriti is the foundation of our ethical practice, our professional association, Korowai Tupu, and our youth work qualifications. Research, evidence, and experience consistently reinforces that this practice approach results in better outcomes for young people, whānau, and communities. The mere introduction of this bill undermines our practice, questions the identity of youth work and tangata whenua.
Youth workers come from an incredibly diverse background and work with beautiful and unique young people. Experienced and emerging youth workers work in a Te Tiriti context, and it is central to our identity as practitioners in Aotearoa. Each journey is unique and challenging. Pākehā youth workers, especially those who start their journey from a monocultural context, repeatedly report that understanding Te Tiriti is personally and professionally transformative. It enables them to better connect with all young people and to journey with young people whose behaviours are a natural consequence of a system that continues to oppress them. It is naive to think that this bill, were it to proceed, would not change Te Tiriti. The proposed principles would fundamentally affect how Te Tiriti is interpreted and the place it holds in our society. It would significantly disrupt how youth work is understood and practiced in Aotearoa, and it would be a step backwards for us as a sector. There is a misconception out there that this is a Māori issue. Every New Zealander has a place in Te Tiriti, and it cannot and must not be changed unilaterally. It creates a partnership and relationship that allows us all to grow and succeed. Today, in preparing our remarks and speaking for all our members, we have reflected on the journey of creating and thriving within a Te Tiriti organisation and sector. This haerenga has been hard fought and full of difficult moments. We have learnt what it is to listen. We have learnt what it is to unpack ingrained ways of being and doing that harm. We've compromised, we've had wins and we've had losses, and we've had many, many misses. We have so much more to learn from each other, and we are stronger because of it. Mana Taiahi is an example of what is possible when we approach an issue through the lens of Te Tiriti. Prior to the creation of Mana Taiahi, our previous principles were good, informed largely by North American research that highlighted strengths and relationships and connections. But we can be proud as a nation that our new principles weave these international views with Te Ao Māori. It has resulted in a more holistic and transformative practice that works for young people, whānau, and communities. Should this bill proceed, we will see this transformative and world-leading way of practice systematically eroded.
Our identity stands in Te Tiriti. We strongly oppose the lack of due process and the exclusion of iwi, hapu, and youth voices in the development of this legislation. Legislation that directly impacts young people and their communities. The bill, developed solely by minority interests, fails to recognise the critical importance of including those most affected in this decision-making process. A robust legislative process involves engaging with impacted communities, seeking expert advice to assess potential impacts, and conducting transparent reviews to uphold inclusivity and fairness. By bypassing these steps, this legislation silences the voices of Māori and rangatahi. It is a breach of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, which creates the platform for active collaboration, shared decision-making, and the safeguarding of rights and well-being for all. It also ignores international obligations, including those in the United Nations. The voices of young people are paramount in shaping the policies that will determine their future. Rangatahi have unique experiences, perspectives, and aspirations that are critical to creating an effective, equitable society, including their input and the input of those who work with them, not only fails to uphold the rights of our rangatahi, but perpetuates systemic inequities. Decisions made without the insight of young people often result in ineffective, one-dimensional policies that fail to address the complexity of their lives. There are many examples of youth-led initiatives supporting both youth workers that empower young people to be active contributors to their world. It is our responsibility as people in positions of power and influence to provide a platform for young people to shape policies and programs that resonate with their needs and aspirations. These initiatives underscore the transformative power of involving rangatahi in processes that directly affect their lives and those young people to come.
This process has been extremely damaging. Challenging settled relationships and partnerships creates a sense of anxiety for our whole society and, most importantly, our rangatahi. This is an attack on the rights of tangata whenua, particularly mokopuna and rangatahi Māori. This bill is part of a wider movement to undermine the role that Te Tiriti plays in our legislative framework. Since the introduction of this bill, sadly, we have heard too many stories of young people who have experienced a rise in racism and who feel their identity is being stripped away. The predictable consequence of this will be increased trauma, grief, anger, and pain. This costs us. This costs communities, not just financially, this costs us lives. We call on this committee not only to recommend that this bill is withdrawn, but that future constitutional discussions are centred in our participatory and inclusive process. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Kia ora, thank you for your presentation. We've probably got time for one question, and that is going to be from Debbie Ngāre.
Actually, I'm going to hand it to him. That's okay for the chair.
I'll check with Duncan. No, I think it's appropriate. I'll go to him.
Kia ora, thanks for that, love.
No, sorry.
Sorry, Duncan. You're not rangatahi.
Sorry, I think, Duncan, just given the submitters, I'll go to Tamitha, and if there's time at the end, I'll give you a chance, but hopefully there's.
Kia ora, I'll get straight to the question. What can we do to make it easier for rangatahi to submit? Obviously on this one, we know where this bill is going, but in future, for all of the decisions that influence rangatahi, what can we do to make sure that their voice is powerfully heard and listened to?
I think I would start by saying, before a bill is introduced, look at the processes that already exist, both in communities and within government, that enable youth voice to be part of what goes even that far. That will mean that what is presented when it gets to the legislative process, when we get to subcommittee processes, et cetera, and there's been a large number of rangatahi that have submitted at this stage. but it will ensure what they are submitting on is actually building on Youth Voice right from its foundations. I think the principles of mana taiuhi that we referred to before, if those are embraced, we'll see more rangatahi empowered and able to participate in democratic processes.
Sure, guys. Thank you for wrapping up very succinctly. Thank you for your submission today. We appreciate you being here and again for all the work that you guys do for us.
Kia ora koutou. Ngā mihi.
We'll now move on and see